Ladies and gentlemen, thank you.
Listen to Pavarotti.
Can I be your superhero?
Hello, welcome to The Revealing. I am your host, Pavarotti, and I'm here to discuss the Idaho 4 case. And I'm just going to bring y'all a little bit of a rant today. I've been trying to hang back this weekend. I've been watching my Red Sox, and they just finished a 15-game winning streak, and now they're kind of battling in the games afterwards, and I've been really just following that because it's amazing to me. But I figured I better do one today because the first thing I hear when I wake up this morning is the Red Sox made a trade, and the person they traded for wasn't on anybody's radar. It's a power-hitting third baseman named Mead. And I went, they traded for Mead? Out of everybody they could have traded for, they traded for Mead. That must be a signal to me, for those of you that have followed me for a long time. And you know what's interesting is now that we get down to the nitty-gritty, all this new stuff coming out, I've been listening to that interview with Liedaho, and there is some interesting things in that interview that I think we need to take into consideration, and I'll be covering that this week. Not just what she said about Dylan and the fact Dylan, wasn't drinking that night hardly. I can really believe that, but also I believe she's also confirmed, and second person to confirm, that she had seen Xana and Ethan at Sigma Chi at 1:30. So Peter said it, now Yessie said it. You can't say Yessie is lying about everything about seeing seeing Xana and Ethan at 1:30, but then telling the truth about Dylan not drinking. These people that do that drive me crazy, right? They're worse than guilters in my humble opinion. But once you keep Xana and Ethan at Sigma Chi till 1:30, you got everybody seeing them there. We now have multiple interviews of people saying that. Well, then all that audio from 12 to 1:30 at the very least, and the people getting dropped off over there at Queen Road Apartments, there's not Ethan. It's not Xana, and it's not them screaming if people see them hanging out at Sigma Chi all the way up to 1:30. So, the clickbaiters just drive me they're more insane than the guilters at this point. But, that's all things that further verify things. But here's what I want to talk about, because the one thing that I've heard over and over and over when people consider my investigation into this case, who did it, who set it up, why it was set up, I hear the same thing every time from these folks. Yeah, but I don't think, organized crime would have left any witnesses. They wouldn't leave the roommates. Why did they leave Dylan and Bethany? Now, we could explain it away all day long with Dylan's connection to her boyfriend and his dad being an Aryan Knight. But that's just taking the simple way out, in my opinion, because what nobody ever asks when they make those statements is, why would the college kids, because that's the ones I think did it, right? Why would the college kids leave them alive? Well, they must have been in on it. Okay. Well, I believe after all this time that Dylan and Bethany would have broken by now about the other college kids doing this. Law enforcement would have broken them in the beginning. I believe they could have broken them easy throughout this thing. And for those of you that think they're going to try to cover up the FBI and everybody else for college kids, y'all blow my mind completely just all on your own. So why would anybody leave Dylan and Bethany as witnesses? Why would a serial type psycho leave Dylan and Bethany as witnesses, especially since the state's case is the psycho went in there for one or two individuals and then unalived the other ones because they were witnesses, yet they didn't touch Dylan. See, nothing makes any sense from any perspective of people leaving the roommates alive. But I contest, and I always have, that criminals that were setting up a hit, they are going to go in and they are going to get their job done, and they're going to take out the least amount of people as possible. They are the ones more likely than any of the potentials that we just talked about to leave actual people alive, to leave witnesses. Why? Because number one, they probably got their face covered. Number two, they're in there doing a job. This is not, let me go in there and just tear this whole thing down because we're crazy. This is people going in and doing a job, a specific job. They did it in a very fast manner and they got out of there very quickly, very organized. It was obviously planned out. Everybody can agree with that part. But the people that are least likely to harm other people in a crime like this are actually the organized crime individuals. And you don't have to look any further than, well, yeah, but I'm sure the Mexican cartel, they would take out everybody. You know how many times I've heard that? Like 10,000. Well, let me tell you what they really think about taking out other people other than the target, all right? Because there is a lot of information out there. Some people come forward and they give interviews and they tell you the truth. And I just caught this one the other day. You might want to, absorb this one before you make that statement and comments again.
So do you remember which?
Yeah, I remember. I don't want to say.
Okay, fair enough.
It was near a border. Basically, the first things that they see in a person is that they want to see if the person has the ability to pull the trigger. They'll send you with a group of people to a certain city, and they'll keep you in a certain location, just chilling while they have other people locating the target. They'll call you up at any time, at any moment, say, "Hey, you know what? The target's available. Get in your vehicle, get in your motorbike, and go do the action." They just want to see what you can do. Yeah.
Can you tell us about your first job?
It was basically someone that was running the drug distribution for that plaza that we were in. It's you could say it's like anything, The first time you do it, you're nervous because obviously you've never done it. But I always put my mind or fixed my mindset that it was just a job. It's nothing personal, I'm just there to do a job because obviously I want to continue my career in this. Because I had they gave me the opportunity to demonstrate who I was, so I wasn't about to let them down. But it was quick. It was just it was something. How can you say this? It was up in front, close.
It was close. It wasn't a drive-by.
No. I walked up to the person basically. Yeah.
What kind of gun do you have?
I had a 45.
Huh, that's a big gun.
Yeah, especially when you're managing that type of caliber, you gotta be close to the person,
right? Because
you ain't gonna hit them from 10, 15 meters. You ain't gonna hit no one.
Were they outside or did you break into where they were at?
They were drinking. Yeah,
I see.
They just told me what kind of clothes he was wearing. Got off the car, I put men sin tela pistola, like they say. I walked in and I just verified that it was him. Pulled out my gun and just went at him.
Just him? You didn't hit the other people at the table?
Because obviously the target was him.
Yeah.
There's organizations that will literally dismember you if you kill someone that they don't give the order to.
Wow.
I've seen that happen personally. There's organizations that will literally dismember you if you kill someone that they don't give the order to.
Wow.
I've seen that happen personally.
Now, I've brought this up so many times over the years, but I've always gotten so much pushback. Oh, no, these organizations, these criminals, they would have taken out everybody. They wouldn't leave any witnesses. They could take out everybody. Well, we're not talking about Sinaloa making this hit, but we do know that the people that I believe set up this hit are connected to Sinaloa. They were using them as their Washington and Idaho distribution group. It's documented. It's all documented that is the fact. But then you have this group of individuals that were running this area up there that I believe is responsible for it. Now, they operate a little bit different. When they do a hit like this, I mean, their name is literally Omerta, right? And they're dealing with the AKs. And you got everything converging on these individuals. I don't believe that Kaylee was even meant to be harmed in this thing. Ethan would be another issue altogether. I believe Ethan would have had to have been harmed because I believe Ethan was probably there more than likely because he was actually protecting Xana. I think they knew this was coming, in my humble opinion. So I believe a lot of heat was brought down on them because they did end up taking out people that they weren't supposed to take out. But I could be wrong. There could have been 3 targets in that house. I mean, I don't know. There's a lot of things that kind of lend to that. But when people say that, well, these types of organizations wouldn't leave witnesses, you just heard them say they would sometimes dismember people who took out people that they weren't supposed to take out. So that's the opposite of leaving witnesses. And when I talk about these folks, I mean, this type of violence has been going on for a while with them, just different factions, but they all kind of converged into the same faction over time. And what's interesting to me is the consistency across different articles, especially with things even like Kbars. Listen to this. The FBI VICAP on their BAU unit and talking about why the wounds were symbolic acts and all the victims are nearly identical in shape and location, because it tells me that I was likely right, because even in this context, she goes on and I didn't even see this, but she goes on to even clarify that those wounds were not the wounds on Kaylee and Maddie's necks. However, the superficial incised wounds of Kaylee and Madison's anterior neck merit comment. Kaylee's incised neck wounds are shown below on the left. The incised wounds on Maddie's neck are pictured below on the right. They're even more superficial than those on Kaylee's neck and are described as being minimally hemorrhagic. The superficial nature of wounds is very unusual. So that's the double slits on both of their necks. I mean, she's even, indicating that that Maddie's was post-mortem. And I believe that those were less signature wounds. That was more staging, because they had to do what they did to Kaylee, and that was just part of their staging. But then it got me to really thinking, why would they bring in the BAU in this situation? It certainly wasn't because they thought they had a serial unaliver. And I think just, their determination of the signature wounds is evident of that. So I did a little research, and this is crazy, y'all. So when I go into, why would the VICAP even be involved in this? And a standard drug hit or professional assassination by a trafficking group would normally be handled through organized crime, gang, and DEA channels. Bringing in VICAP's behavioral analysis unit suggests the perpetrators use signature elements, consistent symbolic wound patterns that could indicate a serial style MO or ritualistic calling card common in certain organized crime enforcer groups. VICAP specializes in spotting and linking those behavioral signatures across cases. So then it started to make sense. They brought them in to show them the wounds and do the analysis and try to tie them to other cases, because that's what the VICAP BAU group does. Is it's like a group that not only gives you interpretations of, the mindset of the victims, mindset of the killers and the signature elements, but it's designed as a group to be able to spot them on other cases that are across a broader area, so that they don't just look at it and give their psychological interpretation. They actually go across different cases and say, hey, this is consistent with this case. So we know we've got the same offenders working on different hits. You got basically an assassin here that's done other hits. That's basically what they're in there for. So with that in mind, I started thinking, and I found this case. And it was with the Aryan's Kindred of Washington, the ASK. So I said, this was a case back in 2000 and I think 12 or 13. But I said, is there any association between the Aryan's Kindred of Washington and the Aryan family or Omerta group of Washington? Yes, there's clear structural and operational association between these groups, as they function as interconnected nodes within the broader network of a white supremacist prison gang operating inside of Washington State Department of Corrections. While they began as distinct entities, federal law enforcement investigations have revealed that members of these groups frequently cross lines to operate together in highly organized criminal syndicates. And then it goes through and it talks about them. Founded primarily as a racist skinhead gang, the Aryan's Kindred, ASK has grown into one of the largest prison-based white supremacist gangs in Washington state. They're notorious for maintaining strict internal discipline, which historically included the 2013 murder of one of their own associates in Tacoma for violating the skinhead code, Southern poverty law. And we're going to talk about that one. The Aryan family, a powerful white supremacist prison gang active throughout Washington prisons. Unlike older, purely ideological hate groups, the Aryan family functions heavily as a sophisticated criminal enterprise. And then you have the Omerta group, another predominant white prison gang operating both inside and outside of Washington correctional facilities. The nature of their association, joint drug trafficking operations. And it talks about that. It mainly talks about Aryan family and Omerta because they operate across Washington, Idaho, and Alaska. They talk about their shared leadership and cartel alliance with Sinaloa with Jesse James Bailey, and overlapping membership in prison recruits. Anyway, so I go to this and I go, that's interesting. And I go to this case. And this was December 20th, 2013 in I think it was Tacoma. But it talks about 4 members of a white supremacist prison gang and a female accomplice were arraigned this afternoon in Tacoma on charges related to the brutal stabbing death last month of a fellow gang member. Derek Wagner was stabbed multiple times, including once in the heart, and bled to death after he was confronted with accusations of having a sexual relationship with one of the defendant's wives and associating with a rival gang, authorities said. This is a case of a white supremacist killing one of their own, Pierce County prosecutor Mark Lindquist said at midday in announcing the charges. The victim was murdered for violating the gang's own code. Those charged were Jeffrey Allen Cook, Melissa Ann Borgalt, Mark Michael Stradicki, and Eric Michael Elliser, and Shane Thomas McKittrick, all residents of the Tacoma area. They were each arraigned on charges of second-degree murder and conspiracy to commit murder in the second degree. So here they are right here. But what's interesting is this. Authorities say Borgalt is McKittrick's girlfriend. The 4 male defendants and the victim have ties to the ASK prison gang, Lindquist said in a prepared statement. Cook picked up the victim from a mutual friend's house in Yelm, Washington, near Tacoma on November 16th, and drove him to Cook's home in Tacoma, the statement said. Within 3 hours, the 4 defendants arrived at Cook's home. A short time later, everyone left in multiple vehicles, with Cook driving the victim to Elliser's house, where the group confronted the victim for 2 violations of their gang's code of conduct, the prosecutor said. They accused the victim of having an affair with Stradicki's wife and associating with a rival gang, Lindquist said. The victim was stabbed before he ran away, collapsing and bleeding to death in the yard of a nearby residence. Its owner discovered the body the following day and called police. Near the victim's body, police found a Kbars knife, which Cook is known to carry, the prosecutor said, in outlining the probable cause against the defendant. At autopsy, Pierce County medical examiner determined Wagner was stabbed 3 times, including a fatal stab wound to the heart. So not only did they find a Kbars knife, they found it near the victim's body, which means they left it there to probably to send a message, I imagine, because why would prison gang guys stab somebody and leave the murder weapon next to the body? It must be some kind of signature when they do that. So a Kbars knife left near a body, I think kind of tells you about more types of signatures in this case. Y'all let me know your thoughts. I thought that was crazy.